All right, we're calling today a first alert weather day in the high country, not for us necessarily locally. And this is really only an issue if you're traveling or if you know somebody who's traveling, they're going to run into the issue. Look at this. This is a live view from the summit of Pikes Peak, 14,115 feet above sea level. And, well, there's not much visibility here because of the heavy snow. And then we get down lower. This is Idaho Springs. Interstate 70 looks like it's in pretty good shape. I've seen a couple of instances where the interstate does get a little covered with snow and then the plows come through and clear everything right up. So the road is more wet than it is snowing. That's the good news. It's a similar story nearby at Herman Gulch. That's another live look at Interstate 70. There's Monarch Pass. Now, this one's been a little bit more tricky with snow covering the highway for much of the day. You see some spots of highway in there, so it's not completely covering. It's just enough to be a little tricky to navigate the pass there. This is a live view looking at the Continental Divide. That's the Eisenhower and Johnson tunnels there on I-70. And remember, we told you last night that this is primarily the other side of the Continental Divide. So we're looking at the divide from the west, and it's the east side over by Idaho Springs and Georgetown, where things have been especially snowy, to say the least. There's Woodland Park, Highway 24, just west of Colorado Springs, looking pretty good there. Again, the roads are wet, but the snow is piling up on the sides of the road and not so much on the road itself. We had a little bit of snow on Highway 65 over the top of the mesa a little bit earlier. That looks like it's clearing up for the time being as well. That snow, by the way, moved right across the top of Grand Junction with some gusty wind. We still have some dark clouds overhead, but that's about what we have. It's 55 for the temperature at the airport right now, and already we're a little warmer than what our futurecast is showing. We may be able to come up a couple of degrees, but the general rule of thumb is clearing under clouds through the rest of this evening. There's the snow we talked about. Again, it's right along the magical line of the Continental Divide there. West of the divide, things are relatively quiet. There are hour showers. These again blew right off the top of the mesa a little bit earlier. There's a little snow there, and then we got that gusty wind to come along with it. And it was briefly a little on the heavy side. Now, this is clearing out of Mesa County, though you may still have a little bit of lingering snow there around places like Glade Park. So that continues its trek to the east. Maybe we get a stray shower, but again, the biggest part of the storm system is the snow up on the Continental Divide. And if you've got travel plans toward Denver tonight or tomorrow morning, that's where you're going to hit that, on the other side of the tunnel. You get down into Denver, it changes back to rain, and even that's starting to break up after midnight or so. Now, we still have some action going first thing in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock or so. By 8, 9 o'clock, it comes to an end, other than scattered rain and snow showers up in the high country. So that's going to be with us through the afternoon and probably into tomorrow evening, and then it fades away and those showers are becoming fewer and fewer. Maybe we get a little bit here on the valleys, but most of it stays over the mountains. So again, east of the divide, that's where we get the biggest snow. At this point, we're looking at an additional 6 to 12 inches on the high end. Maybe on the high peaks we can get a little bit more than that, maybe up to around 1.5 feet. Then we get to the Grand Mesa and to the Elk Mountains, and we really don't get a whole lot. Maybe up to an inch. Most areas won't even get that, though. It's not far different from the perspective of the San Juans here. Maybe there's an isolated case of 2, 3, 4 inches, but most areas get an inch or two max, and many areas won't even get that. So with that bigger snow, we still have these winter storm warnings in the pink and the winter weather advisories in the purple. These again are for areas east of the Continental Divide through 6 a.m. tomorrow. Expect 30s and 40s for lows here on the western slope tonight. We'll be back in the 60s and 70s tomorrow afternoon. We'll call it 72 degrees for Grand Junction around here on Wednesday. Expect 79 degrees on Thursday. 80s come back on Friday, and we'll be in the mid to upper 80s through Tuesday. In Montrose, 67 degrees will be your high tomorrow, and then we're back in the 70s for Thursday and Friday. Lower 80s are back in the forecast this weekend. How about Delta? 72 tomorrow, and then you're up to 80 on Thursday, and then middle and upper 80s are in the forecast for Friday through Tuesday. We have a couple of days that could get a little close to 90 degrees there. Expect 65 degrees in Cortez with the biggest potential for a few showers tomorrow. Even there, it's not a big potential necessarily. And then we're warming through the 70s Thursday through Saturday. Lower 80s are in the forecast on Sunday and Monday.